Hi, today I'm going to do something totally out of the box for me. I'm going to do a painting bigger than I've ever done before. It's 6 feet tall and it is 3 feet wide, 300-pound watercolor paper, and I'm doing a white egret in its mating plumage. So they're quite spectacular. You know, they throw their heads back and these long lacy feathers are all surrounding them like a veil. They're just gorgeous. So I want to do this painting in several steps. It's going to take me quite a while to finish it, especially being so big. But if you want to go along with me, I'm going to do it kind of step by step, and I'm going to break it up into different videos. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I'm not even sure of the outcome. But I kind of have a sketch drawn here. I'll show you, and we'll get started. So if you want to get your stuff out and paint along with me, you can certainly do that. Just pause the video and paint, and then come back to the video and watch it, and hopefully you'll send me a picture of what you've created. All right, are you ready to get started? Let's go. First, I'm going to look for some inspiration, and here is some beautiful foliage growing on some trees here. And what I really love since I've been to Florida is these right there. They're called Pathos, P-A-T-H-O-S. It's a really pretty vine that grows up a lot of the trees here in Florida. Some say it strangles it, but I looked it up and there is something called a strangler fig that does strangle it. But isn't that beautiful? I just love how big, gigantic these leaves are. There's some more growing back there. I don't know if you can see that. Back. I try not to make you dizzy, but as y'all know, I'm not professional, so I do the best I can. But there they are back there also. So I'm going to walk over there. I'm going to zoom back out. Walk over there, but first I'm going to look on the ground because sometimes you see a snake. There's lots of snakes. It's about 94 degrees here in Florida right now. So here I'm going to go ahead and shut it off and then turn it on. Here along the way I found these really pretty purpley flowers. I thought those were pretty. They'd be really beautiful. Would pop into my painting as well. And there's some more pathos. And I'm gonna take a little walk. I'm looking down. I want to make sure there's no snakes, and I don't want to make you dizzy. I'm trying to move slowly. But there's a beautiful one growing up this tree here. Okay, that's a better view of it there. That one's growing up the tree. Really beautiful. And I love the thick vine that grows up the trunk of the tree. So I'm going to try to incorporate that. See, on this one over here, you can see it's got a really cool little twist. Pretty neat. And sometimes they go together and kind of braid together. So it's really beautiful. Love that. There's another one just starting off on the bottom. I wasn't afraid to walk in there. I'm sure there's probably snakes. I was here the other day and there was a black snake, which they're not harmful at all. They're good to have around. But here's some kind of fan palms. There's a beautiful tree showing all that gorgeous moss growing off the live oak. So pretty. I'd love to incorporate that into a painting as well. So I'm just out walking around, getting some inspiration, trying to figure out what I want in my painting other than my egret. And these are some good ideas. Oh, there's some resurrection fern. Can you see that growing up there? So it turns brown and looks dead, and when it rains, it starts to green up and come to life again. They call it a resurrection fern. So it's been a couple days since we had rain, but this one's in the shade, so it still has a little bit of that green on there. Pretty stuff. Okay, here's my egret right in here. We'll brush that off. You can see I've already started putting a little bit of masking fluid on. So just to clarify, here's my Pueblo drawing gum. I like to buy it in the small containers because if it gets old, it gets too gummy and it's hard to peel off. So I always like to start my big projects with a brand new bottle. So that's what I did. And I have 2 cups. One of it has soapy water, just some Dawn dish soap in the water. And then I have another cup that has water just for rinsing. And I'm going to be using just a little flat brush. So, take the top off of my masking fluid. If you know me, I don't like masking fluid. If it's all possible, I would just paint around it. But sometimes it just makes it too hard to paint around everything. So I go ahead and use the masking fluid anyway. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm getting a little bit of a paper towel here. So I've rinsed my brush off. And I'm just going to wipe it in my towel. I'm going to dip it into my soapy water. I'm not going to rinse it off. I'm going to leave that soap on my brush. Okay, and then this will help it not to stick to all the bristles of your brush and gum up your brush too much. So you got to do it quite often. You don't want to go too far with the masking fluid before you stop and rinse again. But you just kind of float it right onto your painting. And try to make sure you get all the little spaces. If you overlap it and it's thicker in some spots, that's okay. But if you go over it, like something that's already dry, it'll start to peel it up, you know. So just try to keep a continuous flow of your masking fluid going. So I'm going to go a little bit and then rinse it off. And masking fluid, the reason I don't like it, because I don't really get clean lines when I take it off, or sometimes I'll miss a teeny little spot, especially like in a white bird like this, and then I painted the background over it, and then it's too late once you take the masking fluid off to fix it, if the paint kind of bled through. So this is a very careful stage you want to take your time with, putting your masking fluid on, and try to get as smooth of edges as you can. So I'm using kind of the side of my brush to make my edges nice and smooth. So I have nice clean lines. You can always paint up to them after you take the fluid off. So this just gets thick. It's kind of like rubber cement, if you will. But it'll dry. It's just a little tacky to the touch. So once it dries, you can see it kind of changes into a greenish color. So I've only gone this far, but I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush in my water here. And try to rinse it out, because the idea is not to let that masking fluid build up in your brush. So really try to get it out. You can see there's a little piece of it there. So rinse it out really well, dip it back into the soapy water, and just leave the soap on your brush. Dip it into your masking fluid, and then you can continue on. So the masking fluid can be diluted, obviously. You can see that I'm sticking it in the water, and then it does dilute it. I like to put a nice thicker layer on. Not too thick, you know, no need for that, but just really try to get a good coverage on there. Yep, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do my whole egret here, and then all of these little fancy lacy feathers that he has coming from his back here, all of these I'm going to do with a really super fine brush, or I'm also going to use, there's a bottle that I'm going to show you here that has a needle nose tip to it that I can make fine lines. There's all kinds of ways to apply masking fluid. I'm just using the brush right here, but you can also use these little rubber nib kind of brushes that look like a little, like they're felt. You can use those. There's pens with the masking fluid in it. So it's just, you know, not a real precise, lovely technique or anything, but you do the best you can. But the good news is once you peel the masking fluid off, it's just plain white paper underneath. So you can paint over it and not have to worry about that. And you can soften the edges after, so I'll show you how I do that. So right here around his chest, I'm just making some, using my brush kind of straight up and down, and making some shaggy feathers in his neck here. And then I can come back and fill it in with the masking fluid. So it's going to be a lot of painting done after I remove the masking fluid on this bird. So he has like nothing really on him right now. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, so I'll come back when I do the feathers. I'm going to rinse my brush now too. Okay, so I have my egret all done up with the masking fluid. So now I want to do these feathers, these plumage that he has during mating season. So I put my masking fluid in this little needle-nosed bottle that I got with my masking fluid. I ordered a little kit like that, and just testing it out first on a piece of scrap here. So if you really squeeze, it's going to make a thick line. See that? And kind of uneven really, but right now this masking fluid is so great. It's nice and thin because it's brand new, and I'm not even going to put any pressure on it, and I'm just going to bring it out. Make the finest line that I can. Alright, so here we go. We're going to do it right on the painting here. So I'm going to start farther away from myself so that I don't lean into it as I go. So already his feathers are covered up here, but I want to bring these ones down. So here we go. Here goes nothing. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it shouldn't be, because you can just wipe it off. You can let it dry and then take your fingers and roll it up and it'll come right off. So no fear, no fear. Just be brave. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Here we go. Here we go. So I'm gonna start here, and I have no pressure, and I'm gonna move with confidence. A little wobbly here and there, but I think it's going to be fine because we're going to put tons of little side feathers on this too, which I think I would like to do. I'd like to do it with this. I could give it a try. All right, let's do the big ones first. Let's just get past this. Confidence. I'm just moving along. I'm kind of watching ahead of me as I do this instead of looking right at the tip. If I look kind of beyond where I'm drawing, it'll be smoother for me. Don't know why, but that happens. So, okay, so it just kind of, and if I'm not right on the lines, it's okay. They're wispy feathers, so. Didn't quite get it here, so I'm going to go over it. There. Okay. Just kind of go faster. Seems like they're smoother. More intentional, more wispy. So I'm pretty happy with that, how those turned out. So I got some curved ones over here coming off his back. So I'm going to just start just putting them on there. Because who knows how they really were in real life. I mean, as far as, you know, where they're placed. Yeah, this is really great with this bottle. Makes it easier, much easier. Oops. And now I'm almost ignoring my lines that I've drawn on there. And I'm noticing that You know, if I put any pressure, I'm getting these little teardrops, little drops there that I don't want. But that's okay. I'll show you. We're just going to take them right off. Okay. So you probably can't see these ones. This painting is so big. But I'm doing the same kind of thing. And I'm just drawing out them feathers. I'm going right over my little vines because this would be in the front, wouldn't it? If you don't like some of them, you can pull them off. They're really beautiful because they're so lacy. And I think every photographer is seeking for that gorgeous shot of these egrets with their mating plumage. And the skin around their beak, it turns green. Beautiful shade of green. So that's kind of fun too. And it's continuing on. And I think I'm coming around where you'll be able to see me in the frame. Sorry about that, but it's so big and my table is the same size as my painting, so I really have to kind of be a little bit out of the shot in some of these. So hopefully it's kind of coming around. So all of these feathers are stemming from the back, this little back plumage here. So, you know, I'm kind of thinking about that as I'm drawing them on there. So another experiment is going to be, do I want to do the kind of lacy feathers with this, or do I want to come back with a white gouache or something at the end, or an acrylic pen, and draw all that little fine lacy stuff in? This one's got a lot of open area, so I'm going to go ahead and try it. If I don't like it, I can peel it off. It's not a problem. So I'm going to start. Oops, I think I got my tip clogged here. Alright, so I'm going to just start. Well, I don't think I'm going to like it. Only because I got that little blob already. Although the rest of them must seem to be doing alright. I'm just moving up. So see how I'm making these really fine little guys there? But if I stop, I get big old blob, and I don't like that. So before I get up to the very top, let's look at this. I really don't like these blobs in here, so I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to take it off. As well as some of them that I've got these little droplets in here. I'm going to remove them as well and reapply them, and then I'm going to come back and just erase some of my lines that I have here that didn't get the masking fluid on. So, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing, and I am going to take this off and just do kind of like the spine of the feather, and then I'm going to come back with gouache at the end and draw all these little lacy little feathers in here. So if you don't have these white egrets by your house where you can take a picture of them, you can always go to some of these free photo sites. Make sure you read all the details, because some of them aren't copyright free completely. Like, you can use them for certain things but not other things. Also, I encourage you to make it your own painting. So if you do see something on these free sites, even though it's free and they're saying, hey, go ahead and use it, it's always, you know, kind of more fun to make it original and to change it just a little bit, change the position of it, change it to kind of suit your own style. If you want to make it more whimsy or more abstract or more colorful or whatever, just don't be afraid to be creative with it. So that's my only advice on that. But yeah, so there's my masking fluid all applied. So if you're going to paint along with me, get to that step and then we'll start another step. Okay, I'm going to show you before I move on to the next step how to remove the masking fluid, because I have some things I want to correct, like these parts where I got all these little droplets. So there's different ways you can remove masking fluid. You can just simply roll it off with your finger like that. A lot of people don't like to do it this way just because you're getting the oils from your finger onto your watercolor paper. And then you can see where it overlapped. See this here? It's just going to pull that off as well, anywhere that it's touching. So it might take this one up here too. Let me see if I can't get that to stop. Because wherever you have this fluid, you're going to have the white paper show from underneath. So I do have a little one there, so I'm going to also have to redo that one. So you want to get it right the first time, but you can see it's not that big a deal if you don't. So here's this one here. Another way you can take off masking fluid is by using a rubber cement pickup, which is what this is here. So it's just this kind of crepey looking rubber eraser. And what you do with this is the same kind of thing, but you just kind of roll it off with your pickup and it'll stick to the pickup, and then you can pull it off of there if you want to. So I think if I can smush that up there, that'll be all right. And then like here where I had all of these little feathers, I didn't like those either. So I'm going to take those off. I'm going to show you another way to take off your masking fluid though, is just with masking tape. So this makes it kind of easy. So you just take a piece of masking tape and then lay it right on top of your masking fluid there. And see, it takes it up. Whoa. Just like that. And I can see I did pull up a little tiny bit of my paper there. Not too much. It'll be okay. Just kind of roughed it up a bit. But I ran into this one here. But my favorite way, good old fingers. You know, I don't have any lotion on my hands or anything, and they're nice and clean, so I should be all right doing it this way. Okay, so just wanted to come back and show you how to remove this masking fluid, and then you can go ahead and apply yours. Just gonna kind of nudge that right up to there like that. So anywhere that you don't like it, no worries. You can just take it off very easily. So I'm just going to come up here, just take that one little blob off. So yeah, it's just little rubber balls. Alright, okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I can come back and apply the new layer of fluid. This comes with this little rubber band thing that has a little top on it, so you can seal it up really nice and it won't dry out, but it kind of gets in the way, but it's really stretchy, so you can just take that right off like that and then put it back on when you need it. But yeah, so now I can just come on back and just put these on kind of however I want them to be. I like those little curly guys in there. So okay, so that's pretty simple. So masking fluid, don't love it, but hey, it's not as scary as it could be, right? Okay, so there we have it. Okay, have fun. Put your fluid on, and then I'll meet you back here when we're ready to paint some movement in the background. Okay, I've got all of my masking fluid all straightened out. I've erased a lot of the unnecessary lines as best as I can anyway. So now step 2 is going to be making movement. So I just want to do some loose brush strokes around these feather areas here to kind of mimic the movement of those feathers just kind of unfurling. So I've got like this soft kind of blue-gray here, and I watered it down quite a bit, and that's the color I want to use. So I did a little sample brush strokes on my scrap paper, and so I've mixed up my paint in the middle of this well so that they're all going to be the same color. And I'm using a really soft flat brush. This one's by Liquitex. It's a 3 1/4 stroke brush, so it's got longer bristles than some of the flat brushes. So this is just going to be very random, very freeform, little nervous, but here we go. It's gonna be okay. Sometimes you just gotta go for it, and just remember, it's just paper. It's not, you know, the end of the world if it doesn't turn out like it's gonna be in your mind, which normally it doesn't for me anyway. But I'm just gonna kind of move my arm here, get it kind of thinking about the movement of this. So this is kind of coming this way. These are furling out maybe this way a little bit. So I'm just gonna grab the very end of my brush, keep my arm nice and loose, do a couple practice motions, kind of get my brain set into how I want it to be. And here we go. Just like that. I think I want it to be a little more solid, so I'm going to come back and I'm just going a little slower. Cleaning up that one little edge there. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, here we go. Here we go with another one. And not too many, but also all those little tiny little feathers, lines that are going to be in here. They're going to be white, so I want to have some kind of background. Oh look, it made its own little splash right there. So, do I like the splash? I kind of do. Think I'm going to leave it. Think I'm going to leave it like that. I kind of like that splash. Alright, so now I'm just going to get my motion going here. Got my motion going. How it's going to be. What do I want it to go like? Maybe like that. So, I got that going. I'm going to come in a little slower here. Kind of try to end a little neater. And if I got any really rough spots that just don't go with my painting, I can fix them. Like that. Okay. Alright, so I got 2 in there. And so here, maybe another one. Kind of like right in here. Okay. Right here, got my motion going, I'm moving, I'm standing, so I have my body going with it also. So, right down to there. So I'm just kind of coming back over it just to neaten it up. Got to get my brush with more paint in it. Neaten that side up. Coming over here. You can leave it rough if you like. It gives it a little extra texture. I guess I just have something in my head that I want it to be a little neater. Okay. Like that. And I got a splash there, so I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm going to leave that like that. Now what about here? So I got to think about this because I'm going to have all these white feathers and I'm going to need some color behind those white feathers. I might need to do a little bit more there. But I am not super sure what I want to do here. Kind of don't mind that motion of it just kind of going right into that. like that. Motion lines. This is just giving it movement and flow. And extend that down like that. And it's right over the top of those little resurrection ferns. So that's something I learned since I've moved to Florida. Resurrection ferns. Resurrection ferns are on the trees, mostly the live oak trees, and they're all brown and curled up, but then when it rains, they all unfurl and they're green and they're beautiful and they're resurrected, basically. Basically, they're resurrected, yes. Okay, so got that one going there. And maybe another one, maybe kind of continuing on this line, but not exactly. Like that. Like that. Let's do that. Maybe not as long. Turning my brush. Ending it there. Okay. So I got that going on there, like that. Okay, it's not as scary as I thought. So far, so good. Alright, so now I'm going to move my painting down a little bit more so you can see it. Let me get my stuff all out of the way, but I want you to be able to see this other side. So there's the other side there. This is so big I gotta kind of balance it off of my table. But yeah, so okay, so I'm gonna go back and start to continue this around on this side. So I like that a lot, and I want this to kind of continue around. So I'm gonna go this. And I want to have it go right over those flowers. Get this to a point better. Bringing it up to get it like more of a chiseled edge there. Cleaning up my edges. Okay, so I got that. I like it, I like it. Okay. And some few more. Let's bring it on out. And over here. And I'm thinking I don't need it to all go perfectly symmetrical with the other ones. I kind of overlap a little there and clean that edge up. Leave that there. And I'm definitely thinking I need a good swoosh here. Oh, let's start it here. Oops. So that one can go there. Don't know if I love this one where I'm putting it, but it still makes sense. So what I'm seeing that I don't like is I got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here I have 3, which is better. So I really kind of need to tie this in right over here, I think. I want to do kind of a swoosh right into there. Okay. And bringing this in. Like that. Okay. That's some nice movement. Okay, so now I'm gonna just mix up a little more paint. And this can be a little darker if I want it to be. Let me test it here. A little tiny bit darker. But I think what I want to do is put some, how am I going to do that? I'm going to make some straight lines. So I'm just kind of thinking this through as I'm painting it. So a little bit more intuitive. I'm just feeling the movement here. So I want to do some little kind of straight lines here. Kind of like that. Yeah. Leave those in. This is my movement, if you will, okay? And I think maybe I'll do that same kind of thing here. Maybe that's enough there. Not too much of this. Couple right here. Maybe like that. Okay. So I got it in 3 spots. So I could put a couple here and down here, but I don't want to make too much. So for right now, I think that'll work. So I got a splash there. Don't want to have to mess with trying to remove that. So I'm going to make some more splashes. I'm going to get my big old quill out. I'm going to get some paint into it, get it nice and wet. Get some paint. Okay, so I got my quill completely full. I'm going to dip it in the water. And I'm just going to come put a few little splashes. So what I'm doing is I'm going straight up and down. Put a few little splashes. Get a little more water on my quill. Just a few, just a few for now. I can always add more. And I think I definitely want one here. Oh, it's not cooperating, it ran out. There. Okay, so got some splashes. On my paper there. Okay. Good enough for now? I think so. Let's just leave that. So that's my movement line. So that's another step that I think is something I've been working on, something I want to, that's nice, important to add some movement to your painting. And I can't really zoom out too much more. I can take my camera off of here for you. Now just bear with me. And I'm just going to slowly lift it up. So hopefully you can see a few of that. So I've got some movement lines on here. I've got some splashes. And I'm going to let that dry. And when we come back the next time, I'm going to start working on the leaves. All right. Thanks for watching. Okay, until we meet again. Peace and love. Bye-bye.